Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has essentially reasserted herself as one of the greatest, not only athletes, but like track and field athletes of all time, not only of this generation, but of all time, where she came in to the 2025 World Championships as the GOAT of the 400-meter hurdles, Olympic gold medals, World Championship golds, world records. She's done all that. Came here, took on a whole new challenge, and not only won a gold medal against a very, very high quality field, took down some of the best athletes in the event in the 400, but also ran one of the fastest times in history, almost breaking the world record in the 400, a new event that she had not actually contested at the World Championships. So, based on what we just saw at these Tokyo World Championships from Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, I guess the question is, where do we see this going in terms of her career? And what else is there for her to actually do? Because she just took this event apart.
Well, your first question was, where do we see this going? And to clarify for all the people at home, for the people in the back, what we're discussing is the Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone situation. Where is it headed? So it's going to go wherever she wants it to go. That's the first part. That's the first part of it. Because we're at that point where she's in uncharted water for almost any athlete. Because all the other athletes who are on that top rung of American track and field right now, especially we're talking about the track events,
Hmm.
whether it's Noah Lyles, Sha'Carri Richardson, like they're in that top rung of like attention. The difference
Hmm.
is Sha'Carri has a whole bunch more to win. That's just a fact. It's a very clear LA 2028, go win that. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
With
makes
Justin
sense.
Woods,
Makes sense.
same deal. Like just on straight talent, like clearly there's more stuff for you to go get. Noah, there's still more stuff for you to go get. And for Sydney, for who she is and what, there's nothing else to go get. She already did all the things that like if you checked all those boxes by the end of your career, you'd say, I had a full career.
She could
And she's
retire
not,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like now she's like inventing stuff. That's what it is. The 400 was already that. It was already doing the Uncharted, doing the extra to see how far we can go. And then she checked that box. So now the question is, what's next? But let's just sit back with the race.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want you can share more of your perspective, but for me watching, when I saw the semifinal, and hey, I was covering it and put my videos out, and I was like, I thought she was gonna win anyway, but I didn't think she was gonna show her hand. And I don't think she meant to show her hand like that because what
Hmm.
happened was, and I think it makes the movie even that much better in terms of like the storybook ending, because what happened is Nasser and Paulino went to sleep. And when they did, they knew they had to run the race of their lives. They had no choice if they was gonna win gold. And they did. They did run the race of their lives and they still lost.
That
And
that
that's
that's
why it's like, oh, like you see what I'm saying? Like you can't make this stuff up. Because I thought there was a world where I thought she would win in 48-4. That was the world I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
prepared to live in.
Hmm.
And there was a world where I thought she would lose and run 48-3. And then the world we ended up living in was 48-29 in the semifinal. And again, we have history. Because this was not a she ran too fast in the semi. This was, we've seen this woman break world records before across 400 meters with barriers. So there's no reason to believe the train don't got more gas in it and won't keep rolling.
Yeah.
And it did. So I think, so it's just like, I think that's just my perspective in terms of like
Yeah.
from the semi to the final. And then 'cause I stood up. Like I'm watching the TV and stood up and like, this is really happening. Like this is really about to happen. She's on the home straight. I'm like, it's really about to happen. Cause I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Nasser, you out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
like when she was behind at 300, I was like, this is over.
that's the crazy thing. Because I obviously I didn't have her winning the gold entering the championships. I thought, Paulino Nasser were gonna finish ahead, right? I did think it would be close, but I didn't think I was saying just based on the season has gone, I thought Paulino Nasser were still going to be maybe a step ahead. But after the semifinals, I think that was like, because like you said, I don't think she even expected, well, like definitely no, she didn't expect to run that fast. Like that was the American record you had. the broadcast, you had people, I'm obviously in the stadium, like everyone's going crazy, and we didn't think she was going to run that fast, but it was a semifinal, so she still had to go into the final and execute. And when you got to that final, it almost seemed like everything everything was in line for things to go right, where you had Sydney in the middle. She was inside of Nasser, and then Paulino was on the outside in lane 9, so she was able to track them. It was like, all right, she's had not only run this 48.2, but now she has her competition on the outside to chase. Seemed very, very clear that she was going to be able to get this gold medal. But I didn't even think she was going to run this fast, 47.78, because it was also raining. It was like really raining on the track. There was a long, long wait. I don't know what it looked like on TV, but in the stadium, like there was a long wait, and she was standing there. I mean, obviously all the athletes were standing there, but Sydney was like standing there. The camera goes onto her, and she's like locked in, no expression, just like focused. And then we see the race actually play out. And as you said, Paulino literally ran 47 seconds. In any other world, that would have won, that literally would have won gold in any other world. Like every single other championships. That 47.98 that Paulino ran broke the championship record. Like that would have been the second fastest time of all time.
Hey, this is how Tyson Gay felt.
Exactly, exactly. That's
But
literally that's literally it. But
but
Sydney just proved
do you
that
think
she's
she
the
would have
best.
do you think she would have ran that fast if Sydney wasn't there? Because I don't.
I don't. I actually don't. Based on how it unfolded, I don't I don't know if I don't know if Sydney would have run as fast as she did as well if Paulino and Nasser, like I think there's a
Well, she
mental
ran
game.
fast in that semi, so that's why
Well,
I
I
don't maybe
think
not
I
as fast, but almost as fast because she ran
yeah,
by herself before.
oh yeah. I think Sydney would have run like 47.9, 47.8. I don't know if she would have run 47.7 because there's like regardless of like obviously I think she's on pace, in the future to break the world record. But I think there's still a mental game of like, okay, if I don't run this fast, I could get caught. That's like maybe playing in her mind where it's like, because Paulino ran blind and she ran 47.9. Sydney knows that in her mind of like Paulina's going to go out, so she has to run as fast as possible. And even like you said, Nasser was like not even in. It's crazy to say she wasn't in the conversation and she ran 48.1. But coming off the curve, she wasn't in the conversation. But Paulino was not too far behind from Sydney, so Sydney still did have to push. But obviously, Sydney proved that she is one of one. Like she is the absolute goat. Like yeah.
I said it before in jest, but I'm doubling down on it. When Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone runs, I'm going back to the Grand Slam track Miami moment where, my production assistant is like, "Oh, we're about to watch greatness." When she's about to race and like everybody just kind of on edge, unlike any other race that we had while we were there. And it's because it's like, oh, this is the moment. And I guess what I'm really, angling at is she's turned track and field for better or for worse, and they're the for worse on this. She turned
Mm,
it into no longer even traditional sport competition. Her runs are quite literally just like a skateboard run or a figure skating run, where she's going out there to do the best trick. And at that point, can you match it? And the answer is, of course you can't. So as a result, she's only, it's again, that's why I said it was the Tony Hawk 900 analogy. He was not competing with the other guys at that point. He was just trying to land the 900 because he knew he could. Matter of fact, he landed it after the competition. He kept trying it and they let him stay on the vert ramp because everybody wanted to see someone land this impossible trick. And then he finally did. And it was like, so we just witnessed it. The moment happened. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, Sydney is in that class where her running that's why I say she didn't need them there to run fast because she showed us she didn't need them there to run fast before. They needed her there because I honestly think, using Paulino as an example, she is such a competitor in the four. This is how I understand her races. That's how, again, I could be wrong, could be wrong. This is how I perceive it. I perceive her races as she sees the field, she measures the field and says, I think I'm better than y'all. And I'm going to run this race with respect to how you play, like almost like playing defense. Let me see what move you got. And then I'm gonna make sure that when it's my time to close this door, I'm gonna close it. when Sydney put the fear of everything in her and Nasser with that semi, everything changed in that final because she ran it in lane nine, couldn't see anybody, and said, "This is gonna have to be the time trial of my life."
Literally, literally.
There is no run off the field. And
Yeah.
then, and the last part, because I'll back up. Remember, look at how Nasser and Paulino ran their first two rounds compared to how Sydney ran hers. They were just trying to get to the final because they in history historically speaking, that's all they had to do. If I'm in this final, I'm gonna out talent the rest of y'all. But this time, they got to the final, and the lane they were in mattered now.
Hmm.
For the first time in, they can probably remember in being this echelon of talent where they felt like this actually makes a difference now. Like Paulina being all the way out, you mentioned, it mattered.
Yeah. She
'Cause
doesn't run
that
that fast if she's in any other lane, in my opinion.
yeah, you
Like
think she would have just
Paulino.
misjudged it and like thought she would have gained picked up more steam than she did, and then might have been like, I just can't get him because she
Yeah.
was there.
I think if Paulino was, let's say Sydney was in like lane six and Paulino was in lane five, Paulino, I don't think Paulino runs that fast because Sydney would have been gone. Like she would have, she would have been gone. And then Paulino would have had in her mind, okay, just like you broke down, I can still, I'm going to catch her. I'm going to run her down like I've done in these other races against like Nasser and stuff. But she wouldn't have been able to. She was forced to say, like, I'm doing a time trial, right? But regardless, I mean, Sydney, and I might argue that Sydney in lane nine might have broken the world record because then at that point, she's like, okay, now I really have to time trial. Now there's no, like, I can't even think about anybody else. I literally have to run as fast as possible. So who knows? But I mean, yeah, Sydney has put herself in a realm where at this point, she's stepping on the track and she's just running for history. She's just running like all these other things. We didn't even see her run any race between USA's and World Championships. And I think you might have mentioned it
Yeah.
in our preview where it's like she said she was training with one of the male sprinters from UCLA. Like that was her. She was using someone to do time trials in practice, and that's what she was gauging things off
Hey,
of,
it was
which
higher
led to a
quality
performance
than
like this.
anything she was going to get in any of those races.
Yeah, you give her someone who's a guy who's literally running, even if he's just running 46, right? Like that's all she
Even if he's
needs.
running 47s.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like
Even if he's running
she
47s.
just needed like a low level D1 conference champion or a mid tier D2 conference champion.
D2
That's all
guy.
she needed. And that was enough because that's still better than what the other women are doing. So as a result, it's like, okay, fine. I can actually run this competitively. And she probably did lose some of them, like
Yeah.
straight up. And that was
Yeah.
okay. Because she can't run with like Vernon Nord and them. Like them guys would leave her. So
Well, yeah.
like she has to run with people who it's like, you got to actually try.
Hmm.
But like they could still get her. But okay, so the real question is what's next for Sydney? Because this is
Yeah.
in the books. This happened. You said the 400 hurdles, she beat that game. You know, the cheat codes have been changed. It's done. So like
And
you can't even play
it,
this game anymore. That was the
we
quote.
can't. Yeah, and like all due respect, just on that note of we actually saw what happened again when Sydney's not in the 400 hurdles. Like Femke Bol ran, I get like not I guess she ran really fast, but like not like no one really focused on it. All due respect to like the four hurdles. So it is like
51.5. Yeah. I said that's what
yeah,
she was gonna go. 51.5.
yeah,
And nobody else can go with the pace. 52.0 got second.
yeah.
Congratulations, Jasmine Jones.
So,
And at the end of it, and then everybody else was 53 and slower.
yeah. So now it is okay. Sydney beat that game. In the 400, obviously I can't say she's beaten the game yet because she still needs a world record, maybe an Olympic gold, but like you can assume if she continued, she would beat the game in that aspect. But does she go ahead and like continue to focus on the 400, maybe, go for the Olympic Games, get the gold medal, get the world record, or does she try something else? Because we don't need to see Sydney get an Olympic gold medal in the 400 to say, okay, she's the
Yeah.
best,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Because of the way she won this.
yeah, like we know that she's the best. Like, like,
Unless I think Paulino gave you the race of her life. I really
Yeah.
believe that. So as a result, that's why I'm like, if Sydney left the field, I don't see Paulino going faster than that.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
that would
Paulina would
be,
need Sydney to do something
yeah, she
better.
could win gold, but it would just be winning gold without her there. It wouldn't
Yeah.
even be like that. So personally, because see, I've already said it that Sydney is running out of a sense of really just kind of like testing the waters of what's possible. She her motivations, her value sets, like track and field is not what fulfills her. Track and field is what she does. It's a gift that she's been given and a gift she can give back to the world. As far as like her talent, we just need to say thank you. Like that's what we should be saying. Like when after the race, I hope people walked up and said, "Thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate what you just did. Thank you for that." It's like a work of art that somebody makes and it's like we get to appreciate it. That's what it is. So could she go for the 400 meter? Because this is what the broadcast sounded like. After her 400 gold, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about her doubling 400 hurdles and 400 at the Olympics. That's what they're talking about. They mind is
Hmm.
all the way over there. I'm like, yo, y'all wilding. Like I'm like, y'all are wilding. Y'all just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. They're talking about changing schedules around so that she can double. I'm like, y'all are wilding. I think that because she said herself she wants to have the best scorecard in track. So if that's the case, all right then. Especially next year if there's no worlds, quote unquote. If I were her, which I'm not, but if I was part of the team, I would say let's go for the two.
Mm. So you think the 200?
That's the next fish to fry. It's the most logical one because we already know where you were when you weren't focusing on it. So now, because you were at 22-0, was able to beat Gabby and them when they were still on the way up. And the argument was, oh, they were still on the way up. I'm like, what do you think Sydney was doing? You don't think she was on the way up to world record status, which she was on the way to in a different event?
Hmm. Hmm.
She was not supposed to beat y'all under any circumstances. She beat the Olympic gold and bronze medalist in their
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like
Literally.
it wasn't like at the Texas relays either. Like it was so like an actual race on NBC.
No, it's true. I think I'm with that. I think in my mind, I think Sydney, obviously I'm not in her head, but I think that her potential goal is in LA 2028 to try that double, to try the 400 hurdle double. Because I think like she wants to do something that no one has ever done. Obviously, she's already done that in the sense of winning 400 hurdle gold and 400 gold, but I think we haven't even seen we have not seen any type of hurdle double at an Olympics or World Championships. And I think she just wants to kind of cap things off with like, okay, I've conquered these two events. Let me see if I can conquer them at the same time, at an Olympic Games. But I do think next year running the 200 probably would be a really smart move because we've seen that she has a lot of talent there. She's never taken the event seriously, and obviously she's run it a few times, but like the most recent time she ran 22-0 against a very
Right.
high quality field in whatever race in like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So that gave glimpses of like, okay, obviously if she ran a 200 right now, she'd run sub 22 seconds. But if she took the whole season seriously, what would that, produce?
I
So,
mean, when you just said sub 22, you do realize 22, what was it? Was it 22-1? 22-14 was second at the world champs in the two.
yep, yep,
So you see what I'm saying? Like, what we're announcing is we believe Sydney was at the bare minimum a silver medalist in this world championships we just witnessed.
oh yeah,
Like for the field that showed up to run.
oh yeah.
Because like if your choices are Amy Hunt versus Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone in the 200, no disrespect, I think I'm taking Sydney.
Well, I mean, literally, like we don't even
Well,
have
on
to.
PR, she is faster on PR. So
She's
like,
actually faster on PRs, and on PRs again. Sydney ran 22:07 in a one-off race in the middle. It was like May or something, right? Like you're talking about Amy Hunt again. All due respect, but running 22:1, which I think is almost her PB. I think
yeah,
her PB is like
Her PR was the semi. And
was okay.
it was like 22-0 high, 22-08 something. It was still like just right off of Sydney's best, but like not her best. It was just a race she
Yeah,
ran one time.
one time, and this was at a championships that Amy Hunt is doing it. So yeah, I mean, there's no conversation of like, okay, she would be a medalist. I'm comfortable saying she would be a medalist in the 200 if she ran it at these world championships. So okay, if she runs the 200 next year, we're talking about Sydney. Hypothetically, let's say that everyone else is in that conversation between Gabby Thomas, she gets healthy. Melissa Jefferson wouldn't, she's there. Let's say Shrika Jackson, maybe not to that 21-4 because she's like obviously on a different level, but let's say she gets back to, 21-7, 21-6s, in that realm of Gabby and Melissa right now. Do we think Sydney would be competitive with those top 200-meter sprinters?
Yeah.
Mm,
Remember, all we're asking is how much more does she have than the 22-0 that we saw? That's what we're asking. That's where you're
hmm
starting the negotiations. Nobody thinks she's getting slower than that when she focuses on it and trains through a season. No one thinks that. And if they do, they just don't understand the basics of speed. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, if she's going to actually go out there and try, because Melissa Jefferson Wooden started her season running what, 23 flat and
Yeah.
finished it
23
running
something.
21-6.
hmm
21-6 high. So you see, like, there's a lot of movement. So with that in mind, I'm like, at the bare minimum, I still think that if Gabby and Melissa want to beat her, they're gonna have to run real, real hard at the American Championship. Tell you that right now.
Mm.
That'll be the hottest American title she's ever won, though. Like actually winning the 200 at USA's would be by far the biggest feat of her career to me at a USA Championship because she's been so much better than the fields now for so long. Like this 400 this year, it was not a race. It was a time trial again.
Yeah.
That's
She has no
all that race
competition.
was.
She has no American competition in the 400. Like she just doesn't. She literally had to take it to the world to say, okay, this is where I'm going to be pushed in any capacity. Because we saw like how it played out between Prefontaine, USA's, even at past races. Like she was a USA champion in the 400 in 2023. She's run the 400 at like the New York Grand Prix. Like she's run 400s against everybody, against Americans, and like no one is touching her. So yeah, that's a whole thing.
Sydney could have snuck into the 100-meter final at the Worlds if she focused on it.
Okay. Well, that's a conversation.
She would have just needed, she opened her season at what? The 100 she ran with 11-1 high, 11-2-0, something like that.
Something like that.
You're trying to tell me that if she ran more than 100 in her pro career, that she wouldn't be able to find two tenths? I
Yeah,
didn't
and
say
it
10-6. That's not what I said. I'm not saying
yeah,
she
yeah,
can go
yeah.
do Melissa things. I'm not saying she can go do Julian Alfred things. I'm saying that the Daryl Nita thing, she could do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I said what I said. She could do that level of performance in 100 if that's what the standard was. Like, because she's at a point where if we're doing the scorecard, if she can give you because this whole doubling thing, I'll be honest, that's not as exciting to me. I'm just being real.
I like it, but
I
I hear you.
it's a different because it's a different type of accomplishment. That's more of like an Iron Man or Iron Woman competition to me
Yeah.
than that is because for her to do that, this is what she'd be saying. She would be telling the world, "I'm gonna win the gold in the four, and I'm gonna win the 400 hurdle gold.
hmm
Y'all just have to bet that my body doesn't hold up long enough to do both." You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm just being honest. For who I am, it doesn't excite me as much
Mm.
because I want the best people to run. So I don't want to watch a worn down Sydney run because she's, in theory, probably shouldn't go as fast in either of those events in order to try to save a little something to get through the whole journey, theoretically speaking. So we wouldn't be getting the best of Sydney. We'd be getting like the awe of her just keep showing up on the track. At that point, it's
Mm.
like you might as well do the DCAT if that's what we want to see. I want to see you like I love watching her do the best trick. And the best trick she can give me in the 200 would be to go after an American title. For that matter, go after a world title in the two. I think she clearly belongs in a world championship final if she can get out of America, which that's the hard part. But if you can get out of America, like you can go after a world title in the 200 and go after a podium. If she got a medal in the 200 of any color, Even though this year with that field with what they were running, we know theoretically she could maybe get a medal. But you know what I'm saying? Like she got a medal of any color at the world stage. To me, that's special with everything else that's on the board. And then if she got to a final at a World or Olympics in the 100, to me, I'm like that would like I'd be excited just to watch her get to the final
Yeah.
more than to
So
watch her win another gold in the 400 hurdles, to be honest.
so I guess then, so for example, Sharika Jackson has medals in three events: the 100, the 200, and the 400. And obviously she doesn't have world records or anything like that, but I wonder if her doing that, obviously she has the 200 golds, double golds, she has two silvers in the 100 and an Olympic bronze, and then she has two bronze medals or she has three bronze medals in the 400. One of them is at Olympics. I wonder if that kind of like those accomplishments are as impressive as someone like Michael Johnson, who's done a double, or like Marie-José Perec, who did in the past. Like, is that as impressive? Like winning multiple events or doing it at one
Yeah,
championship?
but here's the thing, like I'm gonna say some offensive stuff and I don't even care. First, Sharika Jackson, she doesn't you with everything you just said, the gold only showed up in one event. You got to win gold in two events before we're even having a discussion. The second thing is the 100 and 200 are a fake combo. It's the same athletes running in both
Mm.
fields. So that's why winning all those 100 and 200 runners, it's not like the 8 and the 4. It's not that.
Yeah,
You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
It's
I see
not
that.
that
I
type.
see that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a fake double. Like it's a double, but it's not. When you're a 200 runner, you're just not fast enough to run the one. You're not good enough this year. That's why you're running the two only. If you're running the 100 only, it's because you're not good enough in the two. If you were good
Mm.
enough in the 100, if you were really that good in the 100, then you would be able to run the two because you can just be fast enough to hold on with good training. You see what I'm saying? Like that's just the facts of it. If you're fast enough to win the 100, oblique Seville, you're supposed to be able to be fast enough in the two if we train you properly and can keep you healthy enough. And we know that he's had issues with that, which is why he's not running the two at that level. It's really that simple. His body won't hold up to do it. At least that's what he's kind of alluded to. And I know you've done interviews and stuff with him to, kind of learn more about that. So that's why I say it's not apples to it's not an even comparison because she only has gold in one event, like one specific distance.
Yeah.
That's why. And then the other half is the 1-2 is a fake combo that doesn't mean anywhere near as much as going from, because remember, nobody had won multiple 400 hurdle gold at the Olympics till Sydney did it.
Yeah, no.
And then now she just added a 400-meter world title. Nobody has won. Am I missing this? Nobody has won the 400 hurdles and the open 400.
No, no, no.
You see
Nobody,
how
no.
it, you see what I'm saying? Like, so that's why when we're making the 4 and 2 go together. They do. The difference is the scheduling of worlds makes it hard to do both. But in college, they go together. If you're a collegiate
Oh
athlete, you run
yeah.
both. What do you think Sydney did when she was in college? She made the NCAA championships in the 200 and the 400 indoors. Because
Indoors.
they
Yeah,
didn't
she did it
have no
indoors.
400 hurdles for her to run. So she had to do something with her time. So she was a national champion. You trying to, that's why when people with the 200 as a joke, it's not a joke. If you a college freshman at the NCAAs, college freshman, a college freshman who shows up to the NCAAs is supposed to be a threat to win it later on in their career. That's just how it is. So Sydney, if she never ran the 400 hurdles, let's just let's live in a world where Sydney never ran the 400 hurdles and didn't take the 400 seriously because she really thought she was a 200 runner who ran the 100 just not as well. She was at the bare minimum supposed to be an NCAA champion in the 200.
Yeah, of course.
Even if she ignored the other events she's actually better at.
Yeah,
Like that's why we're
yeah.
having such a privileged discussion. We're not just throwing stuff at the wall. We're talking about a once in a gener. We won't be able to talk like this about anybody for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, if she did that, yeah, she would have been like in theory she would have been like a Gabby Thomas,
Yeah,
or in theory like an Allison Felix, because Allison focused on the 200
two four,
before,
2-4, yeah,
switching over. So
and
yeah.
then came down to the 100. She could. That's a good point. If she never ran the 400 hurdles, she'd be a better Allyson Felix.
Yeah, in theory.
That's literally what Sydney is. She's Allyson Felix, good enough to run the 400 hurdles better than anybody in history,
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes
which
sense.
is
Yeah,
wild to say out loud.
I mean, It is obviously, and I think there's always going to be that lack of appreciation, especially when comparing with Allison Felix, because before Allison was like running the 100, like I think 2012 was the first time Allison Felix made a 100-meter team, or at least competed at global championships. 2012, she was running 4x1s before then. Like she was already doing the 4x1, 4x4, and 200 at global champs. Sydney doesn't have that. We're probably not going to see Sydney on a 4x1. Maybe she dips into that
They
200.
don't
She
need it.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're just not going to be able to see that. But there is that level of appreciation that people should have of like what she's doing now is just as, if not greater than what Allison Felix had done in this time frame of her career, right? Like
Oh
in this
yeah, I
short,
think most people know that.
yeah. I mean, because people look at just the number. Sometimes people look at the number of medals and they'll be like, "Oh, Allison Felix has the most medals," or like is the greatest, et cetera, et cetera. But like Sydney being able to switch so many events, and as to your point, the hurdles to the 400, like that's very different. Even I think one of the greats in like Gail Devers, who has gold medals in the 100 and the 100 hurdles, right? I do feel like there's even a difference of like four hurdles to 400. That's like very, very challenging.
Yeah, well, I would
Very, very
say
challenging.
I would put that on the same level. I'd put them on the same level as
The
far
only
as like in
reason,
terms of the challenge. I mean, there's arguments to be made on both sides. I get it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
because that's what makes Gail Devers
Yeah,
a legend.
she's a GOAT.
Like that's
Yeah.
why she's in that special class. The thing is, Sydney's still adding to the chest,
Yeah,
which
she still has
is
more to go.
can she? And that's why it's like all this doubling thing. Like you're right, she could do that in theory. It's just it doesn't excite me anywhere near as much as watching her add to the scorecard in different ways. If she, could you imagine if Sydney really retired with medals in the 200 and the 100? Let's just be stupid for a moment.
Yeah. So
She could get
I'll
she could get that bronze medal in 100. Because the bronze is the one that falls down where you ain't got to run that fast. You just got to go like 1089. Like, am I wrong? It's the medal
yeah,
that always falls for the most part, unless Jamaica's gonna all go fast at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
the most part, it's the medal that falls down to you. So, like, could you imagine if that was when if she called it a career? Everything, don't touch the 400 hurdles again, but she probably will run the 400 again. The four,
Yeah,
like, but I'm saying, what if she just never really touched it again and just said, "All right, let's go after this stuff," and because I'm pretty sure, like the 2027, 2028, 2029, let's say she got around to the 100 by 2029 because she was bored. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think okay, so for me, the reason why I think a double is maybe a little more interesting is because there's a woman, Irina Shevchenko, like back in the day, not back in the day, but like the 60s, 70s. She won Olympic medals in the 100, 200, 400 long jump individually and multiple golds and a few bronzes and silvers, like in each individual event. And she held the world record in the 100, 200, 400 at one point in her career. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, Sydney can do that. And I think she's capable of doing it, but it's almost like a double is something I have never seen before in the 400 hurdles, 400. That's like my personal preference. Um, but I think like to your point, no matter what she does, she'll be regarded as like one of the greats. I think obviously in the 200, she has that potential. She has that ability of like, okay, if you dropped her in this 200-meter final in Tokyo, she would have won a medal. The 100, I think if she eventually gets there, that would be like, to me, okay, wow. Like, wow.
I will say to your point though, like when you and this is not shade to the past generations because I see both sides.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sports evolve, and there's like a moment when the sport transitions. So as a result, like, and I know this because basketball is where I came from, so I understand
Hmm.
there was a moment when the NBA crossed over to being something else than what it once was. They're the reason why nobody says Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain are the best player ever. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
We celebrate their accomplishments for what they were, but they existed before we crossed over to a whole new era. And once we made that shift, if it makes sense, the game was different. The rules were different. The training was different. There were more people competing. at a high level. Like I would argue that the development that is the modern version of the NCAA and the international influence with it. And so like none of that was in place yet. So there was like I'm sure amateur athletic union, if it was a thing, barely, but it probably didn't even exist. USATF certainly didn't look anything like what it is now. Like I guess that's why I'd
No.
say like it's celebrated, like it's etched in time as like those type of accomplishments are always on them, always Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
but it doesn't keep us from elevating somebody past you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. They are always, right there in the Hall of Fame. You got to put them in that top group. But we had no problem putting people ahead of you because we put you in like there was a cap to how we could assess it. So I think Sydney, I received that like the double could be special. I just don't think that it would be as and again, maybe and when I say exciting, it's just here's the best way to put it. Once you watch Sydney run that fast, you see what I'm saying? Once you watch her win, it's like if she were to go to, cause okay, let's be 100% real about what Sydney's journey has been. The reason why she's been storybook is because she did a version of what Bolt did, but she did it even better. She's not just been winning. She figured out how to win and then break world records along the way and then
Mm.
break her own record. So you know what I'm saying? Like she's coming to the biggest stage and then going faster than anyone's ever gone, including her. And then said, I'm going to go to another championship. So like 2021, Olympic gold. But what did she do when she did it? World
Broke the
record.
world record.
2022, does the
Yeah.
same thing again, breaks the record. 2024, same thing again, breaks the record. Goes to the USA's, breaks the record.
Yeah.
That is what a lot of the mystique is. I just don't have much investment in watching her run 51-1 to beat Femke. I'm being real. It doesn't do much for me. And I also don't have that much investment in watching her run. Let's be generous. I'll use the USA since it's a little safer. At USA's, if Sydney go back there to run the 400, because they're going to do a USA's next year, even with the no worlds. Let's say she goes back to run the 400. She could go to USA's and run a 200. That would be exciting. But she could go back to run the 400. I fine then. Maybe she wins it in 49 flat. So what?
I mean, yeah. It's
Because she
like,
could.
of
That's
course.
realistic. She could run 49-0, and that could win it.
I
And win
mean,
it
yeah.
cleanly. It
Basically.
would have won it cleanly this year. She could
Exactly.
under 49, but like even 49-3 could have got it
Yeah.
done. Do you have any level of investment to watch her double that? I don't.
No, 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 no. I don't.
Because it's
I
just doing what you do.
That's true. I guess I look at it like I want to see Sydney double and put her best forward, right? I guess
I
I'm
don't think
looking
she
at it.
could, though. I think that'd be asking too much.
Well, I'm looking at
I
it
wouldn't
like
ask that of her to run all those races and go that fast.
that. I look at Michael Johnson in 1996, where he literally ran the best races of his life to win those gold medals. He ran 43-4, and then of course the 19-3. Like he literally ran those races to win the gold medals. Now, obviously, and even at the same Olympics, you had Marie Jose Perec who did similar. She did her personal best and all that. So, you know, that's what I like to see, but I do
You're
agree.
saying it's possible. I'm
Oh, and
saying
that,
like
yeah,
if it's because it'd be uncharted territory. You're right, but I guess I'm also seeing that like as much as that is possible, it's also possible that because okay, how do you think people will receive it if she wins the gold in both and I guess use real time, throw them on the board. Let's say we're in 2028 and she wins gold in both and goes, yeah, let's say in the four she goes 48-1 and the 400 hurdles she goes 50.9. Did that like what did that do for the sport? It just lets us know everybody else is slow. That's how it's gonna you know what 20 that's what 2029 is gonna be. When we out here trying to market track, all we gonna find out is Sydney, people gonna say, is Sydney there? And if the answer is no, Then the second half will be, well, we know y'all slow because she was able to underachieve and run all these events and still beat y'all. You see what I'm saying? Like, and again, for how we market the sport, that's how I see where the chips would fall on that in terms of in the streets. They're the hangover after the Olympics. LA
Yeah.
2028 might be a nice little lead up, but what y'all think gonna happen after LA 2028 with the current infrastructure we got in America? People gonna be so like done with track for a while that if there's nothing to move to, so I think I understand it could backfire. As in, like,
Yeah, yeah,
great
yeah,
for
yeah.
her, I got two golds, but like, because I just don't think it's fair to ask her to break world records and all that stuff all that many times. I would
That's
not,
fair.
because I think that's what people would, I think that's what the announcers were suggesting.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
They're
yeah.
not saying Sydney go run both. They're not saying Sydney get medals in both. They're also not saying Sydney get gold in both. They're saying Sydney go out there and break records in both.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, do our little show pony thing.
I will say I do, to me, even her running like whatever, running 51 in the hurdles and then, 48 flat or 48 1 in the 400 and winning that double, I still think that would be insanely impressive. I think it would be more impressive than going into, I don't know if it'd be more impressive than going into the 200 and winning gold ahead of, like, Gabby and Sharika, them running at their best. Like if they're running like 21s, 21.6 or something. But I think there's something special about being able to accomplish a double because it's almost like with Sydney, we even in the 200, I want to see her next year. I think the 200 next year is probably perfect. No global championships, run it at USA's, run it at the World Ultimate Championships, see how fast you can go. But I think there's something with Sydney where as an individual, we already know that she's legendary. Like I at this point, like I can't doubt her in the 200, right? Like I just know that all right, if she's gonna go in the 200,
She's
sure,
not going if she don't think she can do it.
exactly. So it's almost like I already know that, but I don't 100% know if she can do a full double, no matter if the schedule has changed. That's something that I do find to be very, very special. So I don't know. I'm like kind of
I
split.
here's my final thought on the double. I feel like, and again, I see the sport through a different lens.
Hmm.
Remember, we've talked about this. I feed the international product for what it is, celebrate it for what it is, but I don't think that it is functional to call this the epitome. I think it just exposes the lack of what the value is, of like what pro sports should be. In a pro sports league, where is Sydney's value? Sydney's value is Sydney is the female LeBron.
Yeah.
That's what she is. Because see, LeBron was the system. When you had LeBron and you got him on your team, the game plan was play around LeBron. When he was at his peak, which lasted longer, and he's some version of it going down now, but the still version of it, the system was give the ball to LeBron. So keep in mind, LeBron brought a Cavs team with Ilgauskas and Larry Hughes to the finals. But he then also brought another one where he had Dellavedova out here and Tristan Thompson. And that was supposed to be his because Kyrie Irving was out. He really went out there with Dellavedova winning games. People who couldn't start for anybody else in the league got paid after that, and then we realized, wait a minute, you actually aren't good. Not as a pro, but like, so I'm saying, like, in a different environment, it would make sense to me to see her go out there and like earn it. But when she's running for herself, hers light shines so brightly that it dims the light of other people. So I think the double would backfire on the sport, even though it'd be
Hmm.
great for her. It would be like, wow, this amazing woman has now given us this amazing moment. And then winning the 400 and not breaking a world record will not be enough to excite anyone anymore. Winning the 400
Hmm.
hurdles and not breaking a record will not be enough to sell as a product. If we're still selling international as the primary product, good luck out there marketing that. So that's why it's almost like, again, her light shines so brightly. Now, I'm not telling her to not shine brightly. I'm just saying, that, like, hey, trust me, I'll be on the train if she wants to run both. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just playing the other side here,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is to
yeah.
recognize that there is another side. that it's not all gravy for her to go do that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And it definitely, I think that also depends on how the sport would be able to market whatever she's doing at the, of course, the Olympic Games or World Champs, whatever. Like it would depend on how that situation is marketed. Because when Allison Felix was attempting the double, she didn't get to do it in 2016, but there was a whole kind of like marketing apparatus around her journey to be able to get to the Olympic Games, her journey to like try and do this double, et cetera, et cetera. Like there was an apparatus around that, for Allison at the time being like the pinnacle of, sport or track and field. So the sport would need to make sure that they market things appropriately. But I do hear that. I do hear the argument though. I do hear like, yeah, how it could. But I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
There's some,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, that, again, that's just that's a different rabbit hole that gets into
Yeah.
the dynamics of what international track is. Okay, remember, I'm speaking from the American context. I recognize my channel is global, and if you're all around the world, please, again, shout out to you wherever you are. But in our nation, we've got more talent than we know what to do with. A lot of it comes through the NCAA system, and the international system actually chokes it out because there's nowhere for them to go. That's why it's like Sydney is the type of athlete who would be an amazing utility where it's like, I mean, again, think like from the indoor perspective. I could run her in a 300. I could run her in a 500. I could put her on a 4x4. You see what I'm saying? Like
Everything.
she could run an indoor too. You
She
see
could run
how
60
she could,
hurdles. She could do
yeah,
everything.
she could do the 60 hurt. She could show her value in so many different ways where it's like, all right, put me in, coach. I'm gonna take you to the title. It's all right. Okay, oh, the 4x4 is last. Man, look, I'm tired, but you know what? I'm looking at the scoreboard. We gotta win. Yo, coach, put me in. Put me in, coach. It'd be like Mariano Rivera when he was coming, the closer for the Yankees. When he would come in the game, the thought was the game is over. That when you brought Mariano out, that was what you were telling to the other team. You were saying this game is over. So if you're not ahead of us now, you're not going to get ahead of us in the future because this guy doesn't blow saves. Mariano Rivera was so perfect that he blew two saves in a row towards the end of his career, a season where he still made the All-Star game. And I remember listening to sports talk radio in New York, and the conversation was some people were calling in like, "Oh, maybe we should trade Mariano, trade him while his value is high." And then the guy who was the radio host, it was Michael Kay. He said, "Before you call back in and say trade Mariano, give me a name." Because you can't come up with a name. There's literally no one in the world who you would want to pitch in that role better than him. Sydney's that. Give me a
Hmm.
name.
Hmm.
There's nobody else you could trade her for.
Yeah, nah.
There is no equivalent value. The only way you beat her is you got to beat her by committee. Because Sydney's pulling so much weight, maybe I can get me an Isabella Whitaker and a Leah Butler and a Bailey Lear and a something else. And if Sydney's pulling with maybe some college girls who ain't that fast, then fine, maybe we could get her. Like
Yeah,
if we're
yeah,
talking from a
yeah.
relay perspective, but like
Yeah.
there is no one to one. And that's why she's such a one of a kind athlete that even this discussion, we get to have fun. Because we'll
I know
never get
that's
to
the
talk
thing.
like this about anybody else.
You can play around. You can play around.
Yeah.
Even somebody, I mean, before we close out, like somebody after she won the 400 gold, one of the last questions a reporter in the mix zone asked was like, "Hey, do you want to do the 800?" Like that's where minds are going to of like every possible scenario from the 100 up to the 800. It's like literally just people think she and feel like she can do anything. Literally can do anything.
Yeah. And I say there are limits to the human body, and running that many rounds in the Olympic Games and the 400 hurdles is not only a tall order to ask, she has to, because see, because at the end of the day, she'd have to develop the motivation, her and her
Yeah.
team, to be like, we're going to tackle this. Because she doesn't normally, she really hadn't seen failure in her track career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not in
If
like
not in the
not
truer
s-
sense.
yeah, because like
Any failure she had
really
was fake failure.
I wouldn't call it fake failure. I would
It
just
was
say
I'm
she was
young failure. I'm the youngest person to ever be here, but I failed. Like, you
like
know
she
what I
was on the
mean?
rise when she lost her like in 2019, right? She lost to
Yeah.
Dalila and she was like on the rise. But it's to the point. I just wouldn't call it fake. Like,
Yeah, I say fake in the sense of like it's the same way we be making excuses for Gout,
oh,
saying that like he makes the semifinal, oh, it's a good step. That's what I mean. She got second
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the
And one of the
world
fastest, literally one of the fastest. She
at
literally
that
ran like the
time,
second fastest time in history. Like,
at
you
that
know,
moment. That's why
yeah.
I call it fake failure because it's not failure. Failure would be I didn't make the final, but I was supposed to. That's failure.
Mm, mm.
Failure is false starting in a final. Like, let's see, that's failure. Failure is I'm supposed to get a medal and I end up off the podium. That's failure. If Lafile
Mm.
come back next year and win a medal, or 2 years from now and win a gold medal, that's actually overcoming adversity.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I
That's what
see
I
what you
mean
mean.
by it's fake failure. Like it's not even. That's why it's like, again, she wouldn't do it if she didn't think she could. But
Yeah.
she actually has so many routes that are available, and I'm here to support whichever one it is that is the route. I'm just making it clear to all the people talking about the double, all those people that at the because remember she doesn't have a 400 gold at the Olympics.
Yeah,
So you
she
see how
doesn't.
we're talking about a double, but she don't even have that yet. Truth be told, she don't need to break the world record right now because breaking the world record is actually not all that exciting. You know how I know? Because when Usain Bolt did it in New York, nobody cared outside of the outside of the track community. The sports community didn't care. They only cared when he did it at the games because they were watching.
Mm, I see what you
That's
mean.
very important. Sydney doesn't need to break the world record. She needs to do it when they're watching. She can't just do it on the diamond. It won't work. It won't advance anything. It'll just be track people talking about it.
Mm.
People didn't even know that she was running in a world championship. They only found out in American media because she ran so fast, fastest in 40 years. She already had the reputation. That's the only people didn't know the world championships were happening. They don't know that Melissa Jefferson Wooden did a sprint trip. They don't know none of that. People still think that
Yep.
Julian Alfred is the fastest woman in the world, and I know because I talked to him.
Yep. It's
I tried to
true.
explain to them there's a young lady named Melissa Jefferson Wooden. I
Who's
was
like literally
like, I was
faster.
trying to explain it to them. They're like,
Yep.
but what
Yep.
about Sha'Carri?
Yeah,
Because
it's
that's
true.
the world they're in America.
In America, yeah. People, the world championships just doesn't hold as much weight. Like it just doesn't. Like at all. People even may not have known that Sydney broke the American record in the semifinals, right? Like that might have like hit a blip of like, okay, Sydney did something, but like, I mean, it's if Sydney got a bronze medal here, most of the world, or at least like the non-track world, wouldn't have really paid attention and or cared that much
Yeah, it would
because
have been a non-story, but no one would have been
yeah,
disappointed.
yeah, because she's still the Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah,
Like that's what matters.
yeah, and that's why I say like when they talk about the double, I'm like she still has more fish to fry. Whereas that's why I'm like run the 200 this year. If she go to the Olympics and run the 400 and win a gold medal and break the world record, that you see how like to me logically I can even just understand that as like a next step where
Mm,
it's just not necessary to run that fast right now. I mean, by right, I mean 2026. There's just no the benefit if we're talking about like because in like again the trackety track folk will remember if she broke that record. They will. The
of
trackety
course.
track, but the fringe they won't even know it happened. It'll be like a fun fact, something that they bring out at like I don't know. You playing one of these quiz games one day, and they're like, "Who's the world record holder in the women's 400?" And they're like,
My name is Anderson from the final leg.
and I'm Coach Rob from SCA Track and Field. And thank you for watching this segment from the finish line.
If you want to know what's really going on at the high school and college level, be sure to subscribe to Coach Rob Track and Field.
And if you want more content on the best track and field athletes in the world, be sure to subscribe to the final leg.